I'm fortunate. I took off a lot of work. I'm an entrepreneur, so I had a flexibility of schedule a lot. But I volunteered in the classrooms my whole career. I had 12 years at the school. But one project that I did at the school was, it was in the days when they were just coming out with PC computers, and they had a nice computer lab there. And I found out that there was a lot of illiteracy among a lot of the parents at the school. They just weren't readers. They didn't use computers. And so I had a program at the school where I opened up the school's computer lab. It was state of the art at the time. It was a while ago. Let's see, my son Andrew's 32, and he was in the 7th grade, so he was about 13 or 14. So, it was a number of years ago. The math there is, I imagine that's 18 years, I think, would be the math. So it's 18, 20 years ago. But I did it for 6 straight years. And I opened up the school's computer lab every Wednesday night, and we called it Family Computing, Quality Time Giving Your Kids a Head Start. And what I did, because the parents needed to learn the technology, they needed to learn how to use the computers. And a lot of the kids were not, if the parents don't read, sometimes the kids won't read. And we have to change that. But here's what we did. I had these pieces of software, excuse me, called electronic crayons. And you could go in there, and I had comic book creators. And so I taught them how to use the computer, learn how to use the mouse, the keyboard, and everything by coloring pictures on the screen and then writing comic book stories to go with it. And you could create your characters and everything. And I got to tell you that it was, we had 25 or 30 people came every Wednesday night, and we gave awards for the best family and all that stuff. But about a month ago, I have a brother-in-law that was in the hospital, and I'm walking down the hallway to where he was doing his physical therapy, and this woman was in a wheelchair, and she stopped me, and I'm a little embarrassed because I couldn't remember her name. She was like, hey, hey, hey. And then we traced it back to where her whole family came to that quality computing, family computing, giving your kids quality time. And she said that her son had been doing very poorly in reading, and he started coming to that night class that we did where we opened up the lab. And then we had other programs that were reading programs, Reader Rabbit by Learning Company. She said her son became an avid reader. And I just got to tell you, I hugged her because, when somebody comes to a teacher and thanks them for something that important in their family's life, it's a beautiful thing. So that's the little excerpt I wanted to throw at you, Dave, is that you're right, exactly what you said. Read anything. Read the comic strips in the newspaper. Read whatever. But when you start reading, it leads to more things, more doors will open up. So very good point, Dave.
So now I'll make just one last point. So if you're listening to the show and reading is difficult, accept it as difficult. And when it is difficult, deal with it. There's a good chance that if it's difficult, you could be dyslexic. You could have a physical reason why it's challenging, and if you don't have a reading difficulty and it's just because you haven't read, well then go read. But I say that because I have several friends, very close friends, that have been hugely successful, and they're dyslexic. It takes them, which means words get jumbled and letters get jumbled, and it's just literally the way their brain works. It has nothing to do with intelligence. It has to do with literally the way your eyes and your brain translate, and it takes them a lot longer. But fortunately, their parents recognized this when they were younger and wouldn't let them not read and force them to do it and get better, and thankfully they did. And so the inability to read is often has nothing to do with intelligence. And so if you are one that unfortunately is dyslexic, like many people are, you have to find resources to help you. And there are resources now that are better than when we were young. And I just say, just don't give up. Figure out who can help you. And it may be uncomfortable or embarrassing or whatever, but you got to push through that because it opens the doors. Knowledge opens doors. You have this thing called the internet, and you can get all sorts of information if you can get better and better and better at reading. So let's move on.
All right, I'm gonna say one more word, two more words on reading. Read to your kids when they're young because it's going to instill lifetime habits. That, I think, is the starting point. You've got to read all those books to your kids when they're 2, 3 years old. Get them started. Let them love reading books. They'll bring books to you to read, and take the time to read to them. Make sure they read. It'll change their life. Their whole life will be different. That's a very broad thing. Mark Twain has a quote about reading. You probably know it, Dave. Do you know Mark Twain's quote about reading?
Go ahead. If you say it, I probably remember it, but...
A person that can read that doesn't is no better off than a person that can't read. Yeah, so don't, use it. Do it. Okay, you want to do Desiderata?
Let's do it. So I thought, let's read it, and for those people who aren't in front of a computer where they can pull it up or don't have it, I thought maybe I'll read the first stanza, and then, Steve, you can go to the second. We'll just flip. How's that sound?
And you want to read it all the way through and then come back and talk?
Yep. We're going to read it all the way through. It's probably a minute or two long. It's not real long.
Okay.
So it's a page and a paragraph. And so I'll start.
Good.
Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others. Even the dull and the ignorant, they too have their story.
Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans.
Keep interested in your career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism.
Be yourself, especially. Do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass.
Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself.
You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here, and whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should.
Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations, in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul.
With all its shame, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy. Boy, I wish there was more of this to read, Dave. I love this.
Yeah, this is, there's so much wisdom in what Ehrman wrote. And when I read it at different times, certain things jump out at me, and they just hit me, and at other times, other parts too. So, Steve, I'm going to ask, the question is, when you look at this and you think about right thinking foundations tenets, and they're simple, several, I've listened to you talk for years, several things just jump out. I've got a kind of a couple that I could talk to, but what do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking over the stanzas of this, trying to pick like an overview stanza. The whole thing is beautiful. It's got a lot to do with egotism and being a person that is not humble. What I mean is that the advice is to be a kind, gentle, loving person and take responsibility for yourself, and don't necessarily be influenced by other people that are hanging out there on the streets doing nothing, wasting their life. I mean, that's right thinking foundation here is, right thinking's real big on your associations and the people that you hang out with. And one of the things that I counsel all the time is, if you want to change your life, you need to change your environment. And in order to change your environment, that's a commitment that you have to make. And this speaks to that all the way through. So, maybe you've got something in particular that you'd like to point out, but it's deep stuff here. I got to study a little more to get very specific.
Yeah, so let me share a couple other thoughts along those lines. This notion of if you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter.
Yeah.
For always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. And I think that really jumps out at me in an era now of Facebook and LinkedIn and constant stuff. At times it's like it's easy to lead yourself to thinking that everyone else has it great and life is whatever, or boy, I've not made it or whatever, and you just don't feel as good. And first of all, I think that just so distorts life. Life is not that. There are people greater than me and Steve and you in every aspect of life, but there's also people that are so much lesser and have so much less. And so I think to try to keep some kind of balance so that you don't become vain and bitter. And then the sentence after this, which I just love, it's enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. The plans part. Achievements, if you've won the Masters, not many people do, that's a huge achievement in golf, and not many people win it, and that's a big achievement to enjoy. The more important part is to enjoy the process of the plans, meaning becoming a great golfer or becoming a successful business person, or enjoying the struggle of learning to read, and enjoying the struggle of becoming a learned person in an area, whatever area it is. So enjoying the process, not just the achievement when you got there, because the achievement is the very last moment. Better to enjoy the 20 or 30 or 40 years it takes you to get there. Maybe it's easier said than done, and I have to keep reminding myself that, boy, it's enjoying this journey, not just when we get there. Steve, you drove across the country, and it wasn't just getting to Seattle that you enjoyed, which was the achievement, but it's the whole, let's enjoy the process going across.
Oh, yeah. I've had time to look at this for a second a little more now. There's the fifth paragraph, fifth stanza. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, let me read this. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. See, that speaks exactly to one of my main points. Life has a lot of hardships in it, a lot of stresses, a lot of difficulties. But if you prepare yourself the best you can, and when you have a setback, recognize it as a temporary setback, not as a major failure, your life will be positive and successful, and you'll get up and keep moving on. One of the main things about Right Thinking Foundation I say is my little contribution to the world. I try to help people with their simple understanding of budgeting and how they manage their money, because I say that, I try to help you reduce stress from money, so that you'll be able to deal with all those suddenlies in life that come your way that you have no control over. Life is going to have its storms. It's going to have its hardships that are going to come your way. But if you take it as something that you're going to do your very best, it says it right here, but be gentle with yourself. Don't kick yourself too hard. In other words, just do the best you can. If you know that you're doing the best you can, if you have things that happen to you that are out of your control and it knocks you down, you're going to be able to get back up, especially if you are the kind of person that is networking with other people that are good people. If you've got a lot of friends out there, then when you're down, your friends are going to pick you